Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Today we are joined by a team who picked up the Audience Choice Award from the Los Angeles Liftoff Film Festival. Welcome Kevin, Robin and Patricia. Hey, take two on this interview, I have to say.
Yes.
But it's so good that we're able to do this, and it's great that we can tell the story of H.O.E.s, the Bulge, and find out more about how this film came around, what you guys were inspired by to write this really fun piece, and what its journey is after the festival circuit. So we've got a lot to talk about. So why don't you introduce yourselves first, and then once you've done that, I'll get the film up and running so our audience can watch that. Before you do, though, I can just see that there are quite a few people watching in the chat room. If you have any questions for our filmmakers, then please put them in the chat and we will do our best to share those as the stream goes on. But let's find out from our filmmakers.
All right.
Take it away.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Robin. I'm the director of H.O.E.s, H.O.E.s, the Bulge. And sitting to my left is Kevin Carrao, and to my right, Patricia Rigney. They are the writers and producers of this pilot episode.
Amazing. I think on that note, let's get the film running, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so that should now be starting to play, and you'll see it in a moment your side. So take us right back to the beginning. Where did this inspiration come from?
So it was a late night and I was channel surfing, and there was the QVC show going on, and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, this is comedy gold. All this stuff that was happening, the presenters, I'm like, there is a comedy here. So I talked to Kevin about it and we created H.O.E.
Yeah, and then this specifically, so it was too expensive for us to actually film the pilot script that we created. And we really believe in this project. We're like, well, maybe let's film something that's, some of it, or we're trying to figure things out. So that's why it turned into more of a proof of concept. We made that could be like a short film, like we did like for Liftoff. So it still tells a story on its own, but then that we can also use for future things.
So
and then we got Robin in on it.
And this is a prequel to the pilot episode.
Nice.
It really does stand on its own, but it's the characters that they created. And this very much would lead us into the pilot episode should someone be interested in helping us put the series together.
When?
When?
When? Well, when? It's always a question of when. We just got to do it. And I love the fact that you were just like, we know we don't have the budget to do exactly what we want to do, but we're going to do it anyway. And that is just the attitude that you need when it comes to filmmaking. So it's really exciting to have that kind of energy behind you guys. You mentioned something there, so I do want to share the comments that the reviewers and our jury left on your film whilst it was going through the process of being selected for the Los Angeles Liftoff Film Festival, because you touched upon something in your introduction. It just links it perfectly. So overall, your film scored 9, which is amazing. It scored 9 on originality, 9 on direction, 8 on writing, 9 on cinematography, 9 on performances, 8 on production value.
Woo.
So not bad considering the budget.
Yeah.
9 on pacing, and I think that's the key to take away from that.
Yes.
9 on pacing to hold the audience attention is just the point that you need.
And we. Sure.
No, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, well, and on that, I mean, Kevin did the editing, so that obviously very much leads to the pacing, but also in direction, just keeping it flowing with the actors as they were working. And honestly, the cast were incredible because they really made my job so easy. They always say, to make a director's job easy, cast the right cast. And as we get into the series more, you'll see our cast, and a lot of these people are friends that we've been working with for a decade and a half, and then others were people that we're working with for the
Newly
very
casted.
first time.
We'll loop back around to that because that is one of my questions, because casting is such a unique journey every time. So we'll loop back to that.
All right.
Well, I don't know. We got to structure, so 8 on structure and 9 on the music, which is great. And the comment that one of our reviewers left, which I think is most appropriate, is that overall, I think that this is a fantastic proof of concept that could become a series on Netflix like blockbusters. I think the characters were funny, the cinematography, editing, and sound design were truly excellent. So there you go.
Nice.
When we
Wow.
get
Thank
really
you very
great
much.
comments like this and it reflects exactly what you guys are saying, I want to share it. So
Well,
there you go.
We're so tickled to
We
hear
appreciate
that.
it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and back to pacing, this opening shot here, the shot where we're seeing the space for the first time is this one big tracking shot. And one of my favorite filmmakers is Aaron Sorkin, and I love his long, continuous shots. But the reason for the shot that just ended is that that was actually, I think, 3 or 4 scenes comprising about a page and a half or 2 pages of script. And I was just, and it was, the way it was written was it was going to cut back and forth through all these different places, and we weren't seeing the whole space in one shot. And I said, well, let's combine these 3 or 4 scenes on these 2 pages into one shot, and we'll compress everything. And that was the shot. And I spent days mapping it out in my head, and then pitched it to these guys. And the actors, honestly, they got
great.
it on the first take.
Amazing.
We did it, I think, 4 times. That was mainly for me, because I was also the director of photography and running the camera. So the 4 or 5 takes we did were more for me than for the actors. They nailed it on the very first take. I couldn't believe it. It was great.
I was very surprised with us producing. I'm like, did not take all of our day, but yeah, it worked really well. It looks really good.
Yeah, it really does look good. And coming back to the pacing note, I know this is a proof of concept for the pilot episode. So this is around 18 minutes. This what we're seeing here today. How long are you going for the pilot and each episode?
It'll be like around 30 minutes. I mean, as we were saying, like with streamers and such, there isn't really a time limit anymore. And because of this too, like the Bulge itself, we had wrote it years ago, like possibly doing it as a web series, but then we're like, it's still expensive for us to produce this as a web series. So we kind of shelved it for a very long time. So we kind of took a 5-minute short and stretched it to who's the Bulge is, to show the characters, to create a story. So we kind of used just selling the Bulge as that point to then stretch it out.
Yeah, I think it's really well. Proof of concepts work so well because when you go to producers or you go to sales agents, distributors, the people that are the ones that can bring a project to life, they often don't want to read your scripts or read what you're telling them or putting in front of them. But if you have something to show, it's a different story. If they see something that they like, then they'll pick up the script and see where it's going. But so sizzle reels, proof of concepts really help writers get to that next step, or productions get to that next step. So yeah. We've spoken a little bit about the casting. You're saying that you used actors that you've known for a very long time and then completely fresh actors. So tell us a little bit more about the approach.
The approach was reaching out to our friends that we've done projects with and be like, we think you'll be perfect for this part. Would you like to read for it? And everybody said yes. And then a few that didn't fit the character-wise, we reached out to Robin's wife. So there you go.
She does canvas casting. And so she helped us out with the characters that we couldn't cast on our own. So yeah.
My wife, her name's Karen Ryan. She's this wonderful woman from Dublin, and her company is Canvas Casting. She really I think she's one of the top casting directors in Los Angeles for commercials. She was nominated for a casting award, I think, last year, and but she knows, because it's commercials, she knows so many actors. And so when Kevin and Trish came to her, and she loves working with comedy actors and actors who are strong in improv. And so when Kevin and Trish came to her and said, "Hey, God, we're looking for these
holes."
Yeah, for these roles," and she goes, "Oh, I know exactly who to call for this one, and I know who to call for this one." And so she just made those phone calls, and of course these actors were happy to hear from her and then happy to get a project.
Yeah, so, she made it our job easy picking, so it was great. Yeah, that was seamless, actually. It really was.
Yeah.
So we've talked about things that have gone very well, and I'm sure there are other things that didn't go so well. So do you want to talk about a hurdle that you had to overcome? You have one?
I have one.
Okay, go for it.
It's actually, so the production booth, which actually I think it's just came up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So originally so we had our original location, and we were supposed to have a production booth that we're going to set up there. And we did our second walkthrough, and they were like, basically it was like a storage room was what was supposed to be their production booth. And they're like, oh, we're not clearing that out. Like,
Right.
okay, I guess we need to figure out a second location then. And so then all those production booth stuff we had to figure out to do later. So we had to look for a new location. But it did work out because I had started editing, and I realized that there were some missing pieces towards, I think, even past this juncture that we're watching, that needed to kind of fill in some things. So it worked out because then we were able to write a few more things, which is what her character does, Kate in the booth too, to be like, let's add a little more things to then connect it together, keep the pacing going. And so it worked out in our favor because we kind of knew what we could enhance it with. And by doing that other location, even though it resulted in more money because we had to rent a new space and obviously another shooting day, but it worked out.
Was like a half day, half to 3/4 day. But what also was great was Kevin was able to edit the on-set, on-air portions, and then we were able to bring that into our new location. And the guy at this location, his name was Barry,
Bruce.
I think.
Bruce.
And he and we said, hey, can we take this footage and plug it into the monitors? He goes, yeah. So he had monitors of the stuff we shot months ago, and we were able to reference it. It was great. It worked out so well. So
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Another thing, I guess, at the very beginning of the episode, I make a cameo, and what went wrong for me there is I was so focused on directing and DPing and doing the camera work. I'm setting up the cameras and getting the lens ready, and like, oh, what scene are we at now? They're like, oh, we're at the shot where they're outside or they're about to go into the studio. I'm like, okay, great. So I want this lens. I'm getting the gimbal set up, and then Kevin says, you got to put your wardrobe on, and I went, oh my God, that's right. And I hadn't even learned my lines yet. I'm just the worst.
That was pretty ambitious, though, being the director, a DOP, and then putting a little cameo in as well.
With kind of a
independent filmmaking. Baby.
Yep.
Which
which hat am I wearing right now?
Oh, when it comes to the acting, I was the weakest link on this one because I didn't even learn my lines.
You did it great.
Patricia, do you have any stories you want to add?
Well, I pride myself on the craft service, so I was very happy that everybody liked my sandwiches that I made. I always joke that it's like, did you like it? Did you like it? I care more about if they like my sandwiches than how they like my acting or writing.
It's true. Catering is one of the most parts of shooting a film. So
making everyone happy.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Honestly, because we all are friends and it is a low production, like everybody just rallies and works together, and whatever, fire happens, you put it out and you move on. And the happy accidents that happen, there were some really good happy accidents. And because we really trust our actors, like some of the scenes really worked well. Like, for example, we wanted originally a male model to do the modeling of the Bulge, but we couldn't get the person. And so I got talking with Kevin, and I'm like, oh my God, let's have it be a woman. And then it makes it even funnier in that happy accident. And so, so our friend Victoria, we had the role for her.
So she was Janice, the model.
She surprisingly makes a really great male model.
Absolutely. And do you know what? That was perfect timing, because in a couple of seconds, you're going to see that on the screen. So we won't go quiet until it's there, but it is coming in the next couple of seconds.
We also, I just saw
there you go.
Leon, who hands you your lunch.
Leroy.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor that we've used for other projects. So we wanted to make sure he could at least make a appearance, because he does a vocal appearance, and he is the caller that calls
Davey Cockett.
Davey Cockett is the caller. So that is the face behind the voice of Davey Cockett. But we just wanted to make sure he could at least get
a little screen time, but you can't talk, so you're going to hand her food. But then we get you on screen, even though you're a voiceover.
So we're very loyal to our actor friends to make sure that they can get some coverage in one way or another. Yeah.
Good. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the sound design, because this came back extremely high from across the board from all of our jury.
Right.
You talk about it.
Go,
okay, I guess I'm talking about it. So we have our friend Ken Fable, who and he actually did the sound for our web series Glasscock Park, and it worked really well because we said like, well, we wanted to sound like this, this, and this, and he came out with this awesome music. So when we're doing H.O.E.s the Bulge, especially because all the home shopping shows, QVC, like they have a very specific sound and everything too. So we're like, well, Ken, you did an amazing job before. Are you able to do something for us here? And honestly, though, he did say early on, like he was having a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what the sound was. Like he knew what the story and everything was, but he admitted that like it didn't come to him right away. But then when he finally started sending us the samples, and then he's like, can I add some vocals to it? Then he just started adding it, and then it turned into what it was. And like I knew, as we always say, kind of like knock it out of the park, and he did. So I think he just had such a great ear for music.
He's brilliant.
And yeah.
Really
Well, and that is the story of the score. But I think you're getting complimented on your sound design, on your editing.
Oh,
for both,
Yeah.
both, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, luckily, when we did our last web series, it was kind of right as COVID was happening. So then that's when I got to learn my editing skills and working with sound and having the score underneath and things like that. So, that's why with doing this, it's like, oh, I got it all.
He did do an incredible job with ramping the sound in and out and everything. But yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's when you're looking at proof of concepts or you're looking at short films, especially at the independent level, it's so easy that sound is overlooked and it becomes a huge problem in post-production. And then ultimately the project isn't as good as it could have been when the sound is correct or on point.
So
well done.
Everyone
basically.
Watching, if you're a filmmaker, is so important for sound. Do not let it slide.
Sound is the nail in your film's coffin if you don't get it right.
Yeah.
And music, both everything.
Yes.
And you heard it from filmmakers, not just me. So there
Exactly.
you go. So I really want to find out a little bit more about your backgrounds as well. So how did you get into filmmaking? Was there a particular moment that you were just like, oh, I want to be a creative, I want to be a filmmaker? Or was there a film that you watched when you were younger that inspired you to get into this industry? Were you all pointing at Patricia first?
Yes,
okay,
she's going to talk
I will
first.
go first.
Ladies first.
Well, I always, I went to school in Chicago, and they have a film school, Columbia Film School there. So I auditioned for student films. And from there, you kind of get the bug. And, excuse me, also did some sketch writing. I did Second City. And so it's like, okay, that's where that all started rolling. And again, it's where I got the idea watching late night television for the H.O.E.s, the Bulge. So I think, I think everyone is kind of born a performer, but then I think that was like the turning moment of being in Chicago and doing all the improv for me, at least.
Nice. Mm-hmm. And the credits have started to roll, but we'll continue the conversation. But I just wanted to say how cool is the graphics that you've put into there as well.
Thank you.
Well done to our editor, Kevin. With you in mind, then, do you want to tell us your inspiration for getting into the film industry?
It's the same thing. Like, for performing wise. So my parents always did music, and even when I was really little, I actually did because I went to Catholic school and I was singing in the choir, so I did that. But they didn't have anything like acting yet. But my parents had always said at the time, like, I just wanted to be in front of everybody and perform and everything like that. So once I got to high school, there was a really good theater department at Corona del Sol High School in Arizona. And that's where I got to blossom right away. Like even from my freshman year, like I was already involved, and I love this, and just kind of evolved from there into filmmaking and into doing things like editing and producing and even writing, just like things I didn't think I would do. But it just, especially if you're an artist, you're always evolving anyway. So it's just like, it's always a process. And so that's just kind of what's happened for me. And then you meet great people that you want to work with and collaborate. And that's what happens too. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then I, like Trish says, everyone has a bit of a performer in them. I loved magic when I was a kid. I grew up in Montana, and the town I grew up in always had an annual talent show. And at 9 years old, I was in front of a crowd of 200, 300 people doing kid magic. So I was never afraid of being on stage. Always wanted to be an actor.
Surprise.
But then in high school, I went to the English teacher who also headed up the theater department. And I said, I think I'm interested in acting. And I didn't really know this. I think I just hadn't come out of my shell yet. Believe it or not, in high school, I hadn't come out of my shell yet. And she actually said, you know, Robin, you're not the theater type. She shut me down.
Wow.
I'm not going to name her because I don't want to do that to her, but she shut me down. I went, oh, okay, I'm not the theater type, even though I was the class clown and just, I don't understand why. Then in college, my roommate, I'm an aviation major, and my roommate was an aviation major, theater minor, or maybe the other way around. And he says, Robin, you really need to get into theater. You are so the theater type. I go, and then echoing my teacher, I said, no, I'm not the theater type. They dragged me to the theater auditions. The university I was at holds all the auditions for all the shows they're going to do in 2 nights. I went, I had so much fun. My first time acting, I was cast in a show. And then from that moment, from my freshman year until I graduated, I was in a show every single semester. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But I still did my aviation career. I am very, very long story short, I'm a captain at Delta Airlines. I fly a Boeing 767. And but wow. I am always an actor as well. And then also I've been a photographer since I was 10. So that kind of led me into director of photography and then directing. I think directing is very much like being a captain of a jet. You know, you have this whole crew, and you want to get the best from everyone, and
you have to work together.
Yeah, and knowing how to work, be a leader but not be micromanaging, and so I love being a director. I wish I knew that years ago. I would have pursued it sooner. But I just, in my spare time, this is what I do with my spare time: is I get together with Kevin and Trish. We make projects, and I can't wait to see what we do next. Really,
which is perfect. Leading on to the next question of what is next, but it's so fun hearing what other filmmakers do alongside filmmaking, especially when we're in this independent pool together. Aviation, I haven't had that often. Have I ever had it before? I don't know, but a captain. It's great. I'll be contacting you next time we're flying to America. But yeah, so the concept is made. The proof of concept is made. Are you going to AFM, the American Film Market? It's in Santa Monica in November.
Oh, maybe we will.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it too was obviously the writer's strike just ended, which was great.
Yes.
So doing the festival circuit, we realized, okay, well, since we can't pitch yet, it's but we're allowed to do festivals. It's well, let's do the festivals now. Mm-hmm. We'll get out there, which again, thank you for Liftoff, also helping us too. Yes. And then it's then we're into pitching. So then we're gonna do all that stuff. Yes, because we're yes, this is what we want to do. We want to get it out there. And so that's going to be the next steps for sure.
We have the Bible already, and we're putting together the pitch deck for it. So, and then we have this. So yes, that it will definitely be on the agenda for sure.
Definitely. There's a platform, or I mention this a lot. So if anyone is watching this who has seen these before, this is something I bring up a lot. There's a platform called Cinando, Cinando. Sounds like the song Disco, but it's not. Are you aware of it?
No.
No. So it's basically a directory of all the sales agents and distribution companies around the world. So what you can do is you can go in there, you can go and filter to your location or to where you want to shoot or where you want to get a production company or sales agent on board from. Then you can put that this is a comedy, it's a TV series, and it will just give you all of the sales agents and distributors in that area.
Wow.
And it's not info at emails. It's more because they all have acquisitions teams that are within that platform. So you'll find out who's buying, who's selling, and then you can contact them via email. And it should be a name like Sarah at or Natalie at rather than the info. So you should be hitting the right people. The problem with this is if you're coming through unsolicited, if you don't have a producer on board, then it's harder to get through. And I would say that 60% of the sales agents that are on Cinando are looking for work that hasn't been made, so at your stage, and 40% are looking for projects that are completed and ready to be sold. So it's just finding the right companies and making sure that you're hitting the ones with synergy. So a good step to do first is to look at all of the projects that are similar to yours, who has distributed them, who's the sales agents behind them. That's IMDb Pro. take that information and put it into Synando, and it should spit out some really useful contacts for you.
Wow.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and on top of that, if you do go to AFM, you use Synando to book all your meetings. So who's going to AFM, they'll have an AFM like part of the website. You can click in there and you can see everyone who's going, and then you can literally get their emails and be like, meeting request for AFM. Noted, they are trying to sell projects, not necessarily look for projects, but it's a good way to touch base.
Yep. No,
That's
that sounds
incredible.
great. Thank you.
So it's a good way
Thank
to
you
start.
very much.
Yes.
And I feel like if you've got, like you were saying, your Bible's done, you're working on the EPK or the other
pitch
part
deck.
of the pitch deck,
Yeah.
and you've got the concept, then you're now ready to start.
That's great. And I think Kevin and Trish have also written the first 3 episodes, I think. They already have they have a good roadmap for how the first season will go.
Perfect.
Basically what happened when we originally wrote the pilot script, it was so long, and it was like over an hour. Like, okay, this is not, we just had too many ideas. Like, let's separate it. So technically, yes, we have more than one episode, because it's like, well, we'll just have to put those ideas and not put everything into the pilot, but you still want to obviously get out your information for a pilot. So we had to learn that.
And what's your plan? Are you looking to sell this, or are you looking to direct it yourselves?
I mean, we kind of still want to be a part of this. Like, we've actually started writing some other feature scripts now, where the idea for those is to sell it. And like, as I always say, it's like they're still our babies, but we're putting it up for adoption. Yeah. But for H.O.E.s though, it's like we do want to be like a part of it. Like Cameraman Kev, it's like I want to play Cameraman Kev when it's on the air. So things like that. That's what we're hoping for.
Ryder Mulligan.
But then we have other ideas where that's where we could just sell it, and we don't have to be as attached, but we still want it to do well.
Yes, because if someone is looking to buy it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Then you have to discuss between you what that is.
Exactly.
But
what role you want to be. You want to be in the writer's room. Do you want to?
Yeah, and be flexible but be firm is the best way to put it. And also, what was I going to say? I had another point on the tip of my tongue. Yes, don't sign the first offer that comes your way. Really get it looked over. Get a lawyer involved if it's serious.
Yeah, I'm not good with that stuff, so I know we need that.
Definitely.
Good. But yeah, and that's then coming to the end of today's call. So thank you so much, and thank you to our audience that have been watching this. If you have any questions, you've got a couple more moments to get those in before we jump off. But it sounds very exciting, and I'm so glad that you've got other projects in the works as well. It's good to have a little library of things going on when you're meeting people, because if this project isn't for them, you might have one up your sleeve that is. So just be prepared for all of that, and good luck.
I think even with the liftoff, because even doing the other network and all the other things that the festival has to offer, like, I think that's too, like, everyone's talking about what this will go and do next. And I mean, that's what you kind of do in general. Just talk about you have this idea, but then what else? And then,
what else you got?
What else behind that?
Exactly.
To be on your feet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's all about supporting the people or the filmmakers that come through our doors and following them on their journeys. So we're always looking for the next film, the next script, the next project, and the future ones as well.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have It's Karen Ryan.
Karen.
There you go. This is your wife, right?
Watching.
Yeah.
That's my wife.
All the way from Ireland, or is she in?
No, she's here in LA.
Okay.
She's right up the road. And then my last name is Leabman, so her last name is Ryan. So that way people don't think my last name's Ryan. So
Robin Ryan.
Right. Robin Ryan. No, I'm Robin Leabman. She's Karen Ryan.
Nice. She has left a comment here, so we might as well ask that. She says, "What gave you guys the idea of the commercial at the end?"
Oh, well.
Oh, do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
So that was actually in the middle of the script. So in the pilot script and the other things that we did for H.O.E.s, like, we kind of had cutaways that would happen throughout the script. So when we wrote the Bulge itself, we had written that for when Imelda mentions that early on in it, and then we were going to go right to the commercial. But the thing is, it didn't work with the flow of everything. Right. So we're like, it would just, as we're talking about the pacing and everything, it's just like, it would not work there. And so I'd already put that like outtake at the very end of the credits. And then was it me that said it? Like, I think it was me that said it, being like, well, what if we just put it in the middle of the credits? Because then we can have it and have fun, and especially for festival-wise, because people have to watch the credits if they're at the
Yeah.
festival. So it's like, they're going to see it. So we're like, well, let's go in on it. And Robin did all the ideas for it.
Yeah, and we actually, on the first 2 days of principal photography, we did go shoot the shot of Imelda, Elaine, doing like looking over the railing and everything. Still looking. So we shot that, but it really was a problem of where do we put it, because this is the only cutaway we have in the script, and it won't work unless there's more cutaways. So we talked about it, and okay, let's put it at the end. And that was, and then I wanted to mention in the credits, the opening credits with the blender. Oh yeah. That I shot in my garage with a white backdrop, and we got a nice blender from his parents. And then we were like, I'm like, wait, for this idea that we concocted, I said, well, we need another blender that matches it. So we took to OfferUp and eBay, and we found a $10 blender that someone was selling in LA.
Perfect.
That looked just like his parents, and that's the one that I lit on fire.
You don't destroy it. And then Patricia was like, we are not destroying the Smith blender.
Right. And so, in fact, in the credits, you'll see special thanks to the Smith blender and the $10 blender. That's awesome. And then, of course, Kevin, being mean, brought the burned blender back to his parents and said, here you go. And they went, Robin is such a jerk. Yeah. He goes, just kidding. Here's your blender.
Funny story, actually, because I was videotaping him as he was doing it, and so Robin, and it was your fault. He said, like, well, send it to your mom and say, like, look how we used your blender when it's all on fire and everything.
Just destroyed it.
And then my mom messaged back. She said, like, well, I hope it still makes pina coladas.
Actually,
which I think which was a funny response.
But then
I'm like, no, we did not light your blender on fire, so it's all good.
And then the end credits, same garage, but now a black backdrop. I did a lot of slow motion, and I actually built a table on a mirror with some edges around it, so I could pour water over this bottle that we had with like a milk and water concoction to be Julio Iglesias' sweat. And so that was the final shot, was really that slow motion water raining down. And then I brought in my our friends Ryan Culver and Adriana, his wife Adriana, to do the voiceover, which I have a voiceover set up in my house, which I've used for like some Netflix voiceover stuff.
That's where we did Lejean's for.
That's right. Lejean was there. Too. He did all his call in and everything. So yeah, everything kind of got tied up. I think it was, in the end, it was 3 days of photography, principal photography, and then a couple more days of
2 days of the blender
credits
and the sweat.
Voiceovers, but the commercial worked perfectly.
It did, and you're right. You had a very good point of when people are sitting in the cinemas at festivals, you are watching all the credits because you're waiting for the next film. So I think it's good to keep them entertained when you have a project where you can do that. So yeah. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you to our viewers.
Thank you.
Well. Feel free to stay on the call. I'm just going to end the stream, and we'll wrap up. But thank you again to everyone who's been watching.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Take two.
Take two. Yeah, exactly. Bye-bye.
Bye.